All right, ladies and gentlemen, Bungie is cooked, and it's not because Marathon is dog shit, although that much is true. The internet is a-buzzing over the fact that Bungie, a multi-million-dollar studio, potentially billions at this point, backed by Sony, is stealing art assets, and this isn't the first time that they have been accused of this. This isn't the first time they have been caught doing this, and now we can't even call it plagiarism. We can't even call it inspiration. They literally stole assets from an indie artist, and that artist is speaking out, and people are pissed. As always, my name is Big Fry, bringing you guys the juicy tidbits. I came across this story from a set of tweets from somebody named Billin. It's a thread in which he started off by saying he's about to burn some bridges because thanks to an artist named Anti-Real, daily posters stolen and put as textures in the game and many other assets utilized, you have created Anti-Real the game. And what he's talking about here is a set of images that this artist has worked on since 2017. They have a portfolio that one could consider maybe the direct inspiration for Bungie's Marathon because it is so similar. Now, getting back to the thread, he actually calls out Joseph A. Cross, who is the franchise art director at Bungie. Now, what's crazy is people have figured out that Joseph A. Cross actually follows Anti-Real on Twitter and has for quite a few years now. This thread goes on by saying Joseph A. Cross is bold and blatant in his art theft, as if no one is going to say anything about this. And in this thread, he posts images of in-game assets utilizing the exact same typography, fonts, images, symbols, and like direct design from posters that have been posted since 2017. You guys can see here it says like Aleph with like the line, the dark space, and it's ripped literally directly from this artist's portfolio and plastered all over the game. He points out this design as well, which is a lot of like ASCII art from Anti-Real's portfolio. And you might be looking at this image going like, well, I mean, they look similar, but I mean, it's not a direct one-to-one copy. Well, the next tweet goes into it. And this is one of the most blatant, like, stealing of assets that I think we have seen since the Venator Operation Harsh Doorstop situation. You can see here the poster literally has Anti-Real's name and tag on it. And then in the game asset, you can see that they kind of erased it, but didn't do a good enough job. I don't even know what they were going for there, but it's like clear stealing. Now, a lot of people are saying that Bungie literally stole the entire game's aesthetic from this one artist. I don't know if I would go that far as to say that the entire game's aesthetic was stolen from a portfolio that dates back to 2017. There's a lot of artists chiming in, basically pointing out that this style has been basically created and developed and, you know, dating back to the 70s, and it's been refined, and other artists have come in with their own kind of creations and takes on it through the years, and that's just what art is. To say that Bungie stole the entire art direction for Marathon from this one artist, I think is going a little bit too far. That being said, the fact that not only Joseph A. Cross, the art franchise director for Bungie, not only him, but a lot of other artists at Bungie follow this artist on Twitter. The fact that this artist's art is literally showing up in assets in the game, and a lot of the portfolio is clearly inspiring the direction of the game. I'm not saying they stole it one-to-one. I'm saying that what we have is a team of artists at Bungie who obviously all know this same artist on social media. They use some of their art in-game assets, textured and through in the game. I think it's a little bit more than just stealing assets, and I think it's a little bit less than completely ripping off their entire style for the entire game. It's somewhere in the middle, and I'll be honest, Bungie isn't going to admit to any of this. Matter of fact, Bungie did put out a post. Now, I gotta call them out for being absolute fucking cowards about it. They didn't post it on the Bungie Twitter. They didn't post it on the main Marathon Twitter. They posted it on a sub-Twitter that they have called marathonteam.bungie.net. It's the one with the least amount of followers, the one that's going to go out to the least amount of people. Fuck you, Bungie. Everybody has seen it now. We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in game. The issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we're still reviewing how this oversight occurred. The way that it occurred is that you guys probably use this as like mood boards, trying to come up with inspirations. That's not illegal. And then whoever the fuck at your studio decided to then just take the mood board, take those and just put them into the game, whoever that was, obviously you're not going to name them. You're definitely going to say that they're former. I fully expected you guys to say that this was like a third-party contractor that ended up using these without your approval. A bunch of bullshit, zero accountability. At the end of the day, a bunch of artists on your team follow this person. They know their work. Clearly, the game is inspired a lot by their style. You used assets from their portfolio that you're most likely using in the mood boards. The fact that it got through however many checks and balances that you guys have at the studio for this to happen is fucking insane. As somebody who has used other artists for mood boards, inspiration, and trying to come up with our own style based on a bunch of different concepts that artists have put out over the years, the fact that they then just took from the mood board and then put it in the game under their art assets, as a small studio, there is absolutely no way we wouldn't have caught on to this. The fact that you guys have so many hoops, checks, and balances to approve art assets, it has to go through multiple checkpoints to get to the end, and you guys just let it fucking slide. At worst, it's malicious, and at best, it's a severe lack of competence from your entire art team. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. Now, what that means, I don't know. This entire story is blowing up with everybody at Bungie's throat. Now, is a lot of this because the Marathon Alpha didn't really sit well with a lot of players? Yeah, most likely. You guys are making a mediocre, uninspired fucking game where the only thing that people gave you credit for was the art style that is now in question. A lot of people are saying you guys have stolen this entire aesthetic from this artist. The narrative is already out there. Do I agree with that narrative fully? No. I think there's a little bit more to the story. I think there's a little bit more gray area. I think it's a lot of incompetence, a little bit of maliciousness, and a whole lack of judgment from Bungie's end. Now, Anti-Real goes on to say, I don't have the resources nor the energy to spare to pursue this legally, but I have lost count of the number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal my work than to write me an email. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies mood boarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. Drop the fucking hammer, and that's exactly what it is. Now, in terms of a legal case, I think this is as slam dunk as humanly possible. And if I was that artist, I would threaten Bungie with potential litigation over this because they stole assets, no pay, no attribution, and it was put into the public hands via the Marathon Alpha, which means the assets were created and distributed without your approval. You have a slam dunk case here. Now, I understand you don't want to go toe to toe with a multi-million-dollar studio backed by Sony. Totally understand. However, if this stuff is going to stop, you need to be able to be willing to take these companies to task. And a lot of people have shared their enthusiasm for potentially starting a GoFundMe to fund a legal case against Bungie. That's just how bad Bungie has burned their goodwill with this community over the last several years. B, that is just how much people are upset at the fact that a multi-million-dollar studio is taking advantage of a sole indie artist. And C, I think a lot of this reaction is due to the fact that Marathon is actual ass. You hear that, little buddy? Your game sucks dick. I was sitting back watching this whole thing. I was like, I should probably make a video about it. This seems like they have a case, right? The biggest piece that threw me over the edge and pissed me off yesterday watching this was this tweet right here. Anti-Real a year ago in 2024 said, I hid loss in my designs 6 years ago and nobody caught on. Now, I had to go to my team at Transients and figure out what they actually meant. What does it mean by hid loss? In which they explained that loss is, I guess, a meme internet comic that I had no fucking idea about, and they hid the design in all of their art for 6 years and nobody noticed. Guess who did? A user who played the Marathon Alpha. He says, here from the future, if anyone doubts the theft of your art, this also confirms it, in which there is a design decal textured on a material, looks like it's on like a whiteboard or something in game, in which you see the exact same design language of the Lost comic. Now, for those who don't understand what we're looking at here, the Lost comic is like a 4-panel comic in which it shows a woman laying down at the end, but the design language is here. I'll put a picture up so you guys can kind of see what the actual hidden message is and how it's designed in a very like simplistic caveman stick level drawing. You compare that to what's actually in the game today, it's clear as day that they stole multiple assets from this artist. Now, the question is, what the fuck are people gonna do about it? We can complain online. Most of us aren't buying the game anyway, so fuck them. But when it comes to what this artist is going through and what they're now dealing with, this is about to explode. And I think Bungie is probably reaching out to cover their own ass. They don't give a shit about the artist. They give a shit about their bottom line, because I don't think Sony's gonna like another flop from a AAA studio in the multiplayer space in 2025. They already went through Concord. We can't let them go through another disaster. Guess what? They're going through another disaster. They could reach out, they could pay this artist what they believe they're worth. I don't know what that number would be, but I also don't think that that is enough to rectify this situation. Considering the fact that this is now the 4th time in recent memory that people have caught on to the fact that Bungie is stealing art from artists without crediting, without pay, without attribution, without fucking anything. 3 times within Destiny 2 in the last few years. So Bungie has a history of doing this exact same fucking thing over and over and over again. If you guys really were true to your word and you say that you take this stuff very seriously, do better, maybe, just maybe. At the time of recording this video, I'm seeing a bunch of articles coming out now saying that this is the last straw for people when it comes to Marathon. I think this might be the final nail. I think a lot of people were already upset at the fact that Marathon felt uninspired, it felt lazy, it was just chasing trends from a multi-million-dollar studio that they know can do better. And then obviously when you compare it to the legendary game Arc Raiders, I mean, there's really no competition. Hashtag not an ad, hashtag FTC compliant. There are some YouTubers that are sitting here playing devil's advocate going, oh, well, you know, maybe this happened, maybe this happened. Stop excusing multi-million-dollar corporations. Stop defending them. They don't fucking need it. They have made more money in the last fucking decade than you will make in your entire lifetime 10 times over and your entire family. Stop defending the incompetence, the laziness, and just the ineptitude from the higher ups at these studios. Just stop defending it. You hear that? Stop fucking defending it. If this is the final nail in the coffin that is Marathon, hey, fuck them. At the end of the day, I want to know your guys' thoughts. Do you care? Do you think this is going to affect Bungie's bottom line when it comes to the release of Marathon? Do you give a shit at all? I want to know your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content just like this. My name is Big Fry, and if you guys use my code BigFry at gamersubs.gg at checkout, you can get yourself free shipping worldwide through the next week. Grab yourself a couple of tubs. It's a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks and other sports drinks, and you can't go wrong with a little BBL, am I right? Buy fucking Gamersubs, and I'll see you on the next one.